Hey, what's up, everyone? DJ here at Top Tech Cards and Games. We got a new Yu-Gi-Oh ban list, which is pretty exciting. Kind of a present from Konami for us during our quarantines, I guess. But just wanted to go through it, talk about the changes, my reactions, and what we kind of think is going to happen going forward. This is also going to coincide with the new Master Rule coming into effect. If you guys don't know about that, they're changing how link zones work, or extra deck monster zones, I guess. And it's going to make things a little bit interesting, and you can see some of that involved in the changes here based on the cards that they chose to ban or limit, etc. But let's just get into it. So first thing, we've got Blackwing Steam the Cloak banned. This is a card that was going to be relevant in that aspect as it is a tuner, and it works well with Needle Fiber or Crystron Halifax. I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce the name in English. I like Needle Fiber. It's easy. I understand it. So one of the few card names that I probably will stick with from the original translation, just because that is so much cleaner. But this has always been a card that's seen play in combo decks. I know it was extremely popular in Japan, obviously, while Needle Fiber was legal. And it's something that probably is good to be on the ban list. I'm glad they're being proactive and we're not going to see too much shenanigans. Granted, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! We always find a way for shenanigans. Next up, we've got Destroido Lost Dragons Frisson, limited, or banned rather. This is another tuner-based change. Tuners are going to get a lot better, obviously, since we're able to make synchros a little more easily without having to worry so much about where we place them on our board. Destroido is one of my favorite cards, actually. I've played it in so many nonsense decks. It's kind of a bummer to me that I won't be able to play with it anymore, especially because that means my boy Mare is definitely going to be hard to make, and, like, everybody wants to summon Mare. Mare's great, so kind of sucks, but I'm sure this is a good change overall. Next up, Glow Up Bulb Band. Noticing the trend of tuners that give additional value getting hit on the list here. Glow Up Bulb follows that trend. Another one bites the dust, and kind of surprised to not see more of that on here, honestly. Next up, we see Lunalite Tiger. I think this kills the Lunalite deck. Maybe it doesn't, but this seems like it would have to be the nail in the coffin for them. This card was just so important to the deck. It's really like their big combo piece. Like it makes the magic happen. So I don't think that's a bad change, especially with all the cards that were added to the Lunalite arsenal in Dual Overload. I think that's probably a pretty good hit. Next up, we've got Spiral Master Plan. They really wanted to make that deck go away. I guess Master Plan died for Magician Soul Sin, so now we can play Magician Soul and Dark Magician instead. I don't know. I would love to see Spiral stick around in some capacity, especially with the way they changed the deck through the rest of the list, giving us more drones. But I don't know what you're supposed to do without Master Plan. It's going to be hard when you're not able to continue adding gas to your hand as you're going through, and when you can't find your resort on demand. No other changes. All the changes to the forbidden section of the list were these effect monsters. Nothing else all through here. So coming down here to the limited cards. First off, Jackalope and Tsuchinoko both got limited from Semi to go along with their boy Nessie. So now Nessie, Jackalope, and Such are all at one. I mean, the Danger Engine is like sick. They're fun cards to play with. They draw cards. They special summon monsters. They look dope. But I understand wanting to cut back on combo decks, especially with a bit of a fear almost that the new Master Rule could lead to some insane combos. I mean, the level 3s have always been good. There's some really solid rank 3 XYZ monsters. Makes sense to have these hit. Another hit that bums me out, just like Destroido, I like playing these cards. I like building goofy decks with dangers and just going off, but such is life. Down here we've got ABC Buster Dragon. I have not done any playtesting with the new Master Rule, but I've been told time and time again that ABC was going to be insane with 3 Buster Dragons. I don't know if that's true or not. Every time someone tells me ABC is going to be a good deck, I just assume they're lying to me because it's always been bad. It's insane to me that it could be good, but what do I know? I haven't played with the rules. I haven't played with the lists, but it's good if the deck was insane that they hit it now. Obviously, I like, again, being proactive. I think it was probably fine to leave this one go. I mean, worst case, we play with it for a while and we find out it's an issue, but I'm not going to be able to eat my words because we'll never have that situation, so here we are. TG Hyper Librarian and Trishula both limited. Now, I assume that both of these are in order to keep us from doing any insane Hyper Librarian draw our whole deck combos with Trish, looping our opponent's hand. Like the desynchro stuff you could do with one Trish. I don't know that it's that big of a deal. But I like... limiting Hyper Librarian doesn't do anything, right? Like, I've played in formats where Hyper Librarian was at 3. I've played in formats where it was at 1. It didn't matter. Like, you make your 1 librarian and you make your plays. There's no real downside to it being at 3. There's no real upside to it being at 1 either, from what I can tell. Trish is a little bit different because Trish you can make multiples of using the new rule set. So you can Trish your opponent 3 times with 3 Trishes without needing to do any desynchro or bounce, nonsense. Like, it just happens. And that, along with the Hyper Librarians, you get to keep your gas flowing and ripping your opponent's hand apart. But I don't know any specific combo that makes this a problem, but my inclination is that it wasn't that big of a deal. And they could have just left both of these cards at 3. If anybody knows if there was a sweet combo that I don't know about, hook me up in the comments because I would love to see it, even if it's not something we can do anymore. Just because that sounds awesome. That sounds super dope. So, hook it up. It is a super big shame that Trish is limited from the Point of Pot of Extravagance decks and something like the True King Dinos. That deck might still have some legs to stand on. It doesn't lose anything really from the list, though it doesn't gain a lot from the rule changes either. But not being able to play 3 Trishes to insulate ourselves from Pot of Extravagance kind of blows. But it's fine. I mean, that's not like a huge issue. Your odds of hitting your Trish, even on a Banish 6, aren't so high that like you won't play it anymore. So, again, non-issue, I think. Down here, we've got Totally Awesome Limited. Toad was going to be easy to spam multiple copies of. This one I know for a fact we would have been able to set up big boards with a lot of Toads pretty easily. So I think limiting Toad is smart just to get ahead of it. I would have seen myself playing some various water decks. Down further on the list, we'll talk about Sea Diva, with it being unrestricted now instead of semi-even. And I have to imagine we could have gotten really insane, absolutely wild with some of those cards with making multiple Toads. Underneath, we've got Zodiac Dryden. This is the big surprise to me, actually, on the list. Not necessarily because I think its power level is too insane or anything. I just didn't see it coming at all. Because, I don't know, it felt like there was a reluctance to let this card back into the play pool. I think Broad Bull being banned still makes it just fine. But, definitely understand there being a little bit of fear with unbanning this card for people. The Zoo was so dominant for such a long period of time in the game, and it is a very interesting deck. I don't think 1 Dryden, no Broad Bull, Rat Pierre is still limited, and we're going to get to it in a second, but Barrage is limited too. I don't think any of that's going to make for some insane Zodiac deck. We're missing a lot of the things that made the deck insane the first several times, but every time I said that the deck wasn't going to be insane anymore the first time, 2 weeks later, I was telling everyone how great Zoo was. So that option always exists, and, who's to say what could happen here? I will definitely be trying to play Dryden decks just because we have access to it again, and it's a card that I've enjoyed playing in the past. So I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know how we're going to make it work, but here we are. Instant Fusion Limited. Instant Fusion is a really good card. With Norden bans, I didn't feel like it was egregious at 3 ever. I know people are concerned because of the extra deck rules. Since we'll be able to put it into whatever zone, we don't have to worry about where it is, and we can let our Millennium Eyes sit and stop our opponent from hand trapping us for way longer during our combos. But I don't know. At 1, I'm just gonna feel like I get sacked every time they draw it. It doesn't seem like it's such an insane card that I don't want my opponent to be able to play it. If they want to play their copy and use an extra deck slot on it, that's fine. But I probably would have just let them play 3 at that point. Not going to be mad either way about it. I think it's a fine change. Down here we've got Mind Control semi-limited, or limited from semi-limited rather. I think this is a weird one actually, because Mind Control is insane. I'm not trying to say it's not, because it's a really, really good card. It does a ton, helps break boards. It is easy to use for your combos when you're going second, but I don't have an issue with any going second cards really. There's a ton of really good going second cards. Lightning Storm is at 3, Evenly Matched is at 3. Limiting Mind Control when we're going into a format that could potentially be even more combo based than the last couple formats, just based on the rules change, is really weird to me. Would have preferred to leave this at 2 or even put it back to 3, but it's a very strong card and another one that I'm not upset with Konami's choice to limit it. Down here we've got Zodiac Barrage going to 1. Definitely some fear there with leaving that card at 3 with Dryden legal again. It's a shame because I really liked the Zodiac Sky Striker decks that were floating around for a little while. Just a really cool concept, and definitely a deck that could do some cool things. Would have been awesome to try to play that with a Trident in the mix, but I also understand why they wouldn't want us to do that. I think this might be overkill. I would have liked them to give us the Trident with Barrage at 3, especially on like a kind of a limited basis. I'll talk about that a little more after we get through the list, but I mean, there's not going to be events for a while still, so I think it would have been fine to just let us have this and let the community kind of feel it out and see how they really felt about Barrage at 3, though maybe their internal testing said that was a bad idea. Next up, we've got Malicious to 2, up back from being at 3. I think this is the spot where Malicious should stay. When it went back to 3, I was excited to try to do some stuff with it. I made some brews, but nothing really came all the way through ever. It is just an insane card, though. I think 2 is the right spot for it, despite the fact that it goes from being extremely powerful to very mediocre. Widow Anchor to 2. Thank you for giving us an anchor back. Striker needed that. I think Striker's actually oddly close to playable still. It's funny that this will just slot right into where that Mind Control was if you were playing a going second Striker list, but this is just significantly better. So in a way, it was an upgrade for the Striker decks, though nobody else obviously cares about that. No other decks are like, yeah, give me a freaking Widow Anchor, take my Mind Control. But it is a good card. We'll probably see it back at 3 next list, I assume, unless Striker is way better than I would guess, which I don't see that happening. Diva 2-3. There's more deep sea support, or sea serpent support. I don't know exactly how it works. I think it is deep sea support. In a set or two, I know. I've read the cards. They're really sweet. And I think that obviously they're trying to push that by unlimiting Diva. And it's surprising to me that we get it now, though, when synchros are going to be a little bit more accessible and a little more powerful, rather than last iteration of the list where we couldn't synchro as easily. So they could have given us 3 Divas to let it kind of play out without the issues that could be caused by it being too powerful as a synchro engine. That being said, I'm going to keep messing with Diva. I've already posted a Mermail list for the past format. I'm going to build Mermail again for this format because Diva is sick, and the way your extra deck access changes now, I think it gives you a lot more play potential there, obviously. So definitely super stoked on that. Necroface to 3, that's just irrelevant. Who cares? Spiral Gear Drone to 3. Drone to 3 is really awesome. You can play Machine Duplication if you wanted to in Spiral now, which I don't know exactly where the combo gets you. Like, you drone them, you set their card, right? You get your other drones, and you're able to make your double helix from there and then do something. But without a master plan, you can't really get deep into your combo. You can't extend too crazy, even with the drone's ability to add back like a super agent or something from your graveyard. I don't think we're going to be able to get anywhere crazy. I'm curious. I'm sure some wizard out there is going to know better than me and have an awesome spiral list. And I am really waiting to see it, but I don't see this as something that's going to really take off and be successful. Last thing is Pot of Avarice to 3. We saw it didn't do anything last format while it was at 1. There are decks that will play Pot of Avarice. Maybe at 3, there are decks that will be built to really take advantage of Pot of Avarice. I doubt it, but it could be interesting in some stuff. I mean, one of the bigger things that you can do with it is, play those mill heavy, like Lightsworn type strategies, but I'd rather leave my cards in my graveyard usually with those. Maybe something that really can link climb really effectively. You can fill your graveyard with those and draw 2 cards, but I think this is a good card to have a 3. Maybe we'll do something cool with it one day. I doubt it will be too much of a thing. We can recycle our Trident with it, so, pure Zodiac. Here we go, baby. But yeah, that's the list. I think there's a couple decks that really stand out to me as all-star frontrunners right now. I think Orcust is going to be really good. Orcust gets to play with the new Master really well. It loses nothing from the changes effectively. Maybe you would play Glow Up Bulb in the deck as a tuner to get off Needle Fiber, but you can still play Jet Synchron and get a similar effect out of it, as well as many other, various tuners if you need to use something. The deck already was solid last format. It can also use Union Hanger, or is that the name of the card? I'm so bad with these. Union Carrier. Hanger is the ABC field spell. Union Carrier to get the Buster Blader card and shut your opponent out of the extra deck. You've got Dingirsu to protect that, so you're able to make a more or less indestructible card that stops your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck. It's always going to be really strong. We know how powerful Vanity's Emptiness type effects are every time. And the deck has a decent amount of push going seconds. You can play through your opponent's boards. I also think that the Rocket deck is going to be really good. Dragon Link, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot that deck can do. It's got a really high ceiling. The combo potential is really high, and now it's not going to be gated by link arrows for making some synchro monsters if it wants to. And so I think you can get absolutely wild with that deck, and there's a lot that you can do with that as well. Those are the 2 decks that I see as the real front runners right now. And Shaddoll is still going to be really good. That deck didn't lose anything from the ban list, and it gains a lot from not being gated on where you can put your fusion monsters off of your spells. So I think that deck is going to be extremely strong as well, and something that we should definitely be watching out for. I don't know what we're going to do with some of these new cards. I think there's, a desire to build something with cards like Trident or with Deep Sea Diva at 3. I don't know exactly what the home for those is or what that looks like. A deck I was really looking forward to playing actually was the Lunalite deck, so I'm a little disappointed that I don't think that's going to work anymore with no Tiger. I will do some research and see if there's a way we can make that combo work, though, without it. So we'll see if there's a secret there that I'm not aware of yet. I do wish they were a little bit less heavy-handed with this list, and here's why, right? Due to the coronavirus COVID-19 situation, there's not going to be Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments until at least, I think, May 8th was the date. May something like that, May 10th maybe. So this list is going to start May or April 1st. You can play online with it, obviously, test with your friends, have small hangouts, whatever, but there's not going to be locals, there's not going to be regionals, obviously not going to be any YCSs or anything. I would have liked to see this list be a lot more relaxed. Let the community take control, build decks, brew up, post lists online, play online tournaments, and then try to keep their kind of finger on the situation, watch the pulse, so to speak, see what happens, and then after a month or 2 of that, before we get into national season, if we have U.S. Nationals as planned, they could have dropped another list with the information we have. So I do think they were a little heavy-handed with this list, given that we're going to spend a month unable to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway. But I do think they made a lot of good changes. A lot of foresight was here, which I think is always a good thing. I've criticized Konami in the past for not being proactive enough with ban list changes. So I think it's really good to see them be a little more aggressive with hitting problems before they even happen. Still a lot of cards on the list that I think could come off, but that's an argument for another day. Maybe if there's any interest in that, I could do another video talking about all the things I'd like to see come off the ban list, because it would be a thick list. There's a lot of crap on here that I think is wasting space. That's here nor there, though. I think this is a great list. I'm happy we got one. It gives me a reason to start brewing and testing with the new Master Roll, because at first, without a new ban list, it was like watching paint dry, right? Like, I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, but there's no reason to. We don't have any events. The format's already basically figured out. We're just waiting for a new list and new rules to come into play. So now it's awesome. It's the perfect time. We're all sitting at home anyway, so let's get to work and start brewing. Let me know what decks you guys think are going to be awesome down below. I'm happy to talk about anything, and I'm curious to hear all your ideas. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so we can keep more content coming for you guys. Thanks a lot.